With Battlefield 6's beta over, I thought it would be fun to revisit an older Battlefield game once again, this time revisiting a Battlefield game that EA really doesn't want you to play, Battlefield 2142. Released back in 2006, Battlefield 2142 is built off the Battlefield 2 engine but set in the far future. Unlike Battlefield 2 and Battlefield 2's DLC, however, this one EA really doesn't want you to play. While nothing is stopping you from buying the game physically off eBay, the game requires you to connect to EA's servers to create an account, even if you want to play offline against bots. For some reason, you have to register to EA that you want to play, though this was a one-time only thing. So if you wanted to play Vanilla 2142 today, you have to go out of your way to download an offline account, which doesn't let you change your player name. So if you want to give yourself any sort of identity, you have to use a clan tag, which is kind of annoying. Now that aside, EA also just really doesn't want you to play this game in general. If you don't have friends or bad internet, they only let you play 5 of the game's maps in offline mode against bots, which, if you're like me and don't play online, makes the game feel more like a sci-fi expansion pack to Battlefield 2, which is fine, I don't really mind that, but it's still lame that so much content is locked behind the multiplayer portion. Though to be fair, at launch there were only 10 maps, so about half of them were playable offline, but still, they never added more to play offline. Additionally, the game actually had spyware on it, where billboards in-game would advertise stuff to you based on your Google searches or whatever. That's just really weird and kind of creepy. Like, it wasn't stealing information or anything from your computer, but it basically was. So, that's cool. Thanks, EA. As far as I know, I believe that doesn't work if you're not connected to EA's servers, so if you're playing offline, I don't think it ever shows up. Now, if you can overlook that, 2142 is a really good game. It's basically the first modern Battlefield game in terms of what it does. I think Bad Company perfected the formula, but 2142 started it. Taking a bit of a step down from Battlefield 2, they simplified classes to the four we know and love today: Assault, Recon, Support, and Engineer. That's basically it. The weapons of each class are pretty cool looking. They remind me of the Killzone guns, which is nice, and while they feel sci-fi, they don't feel alien, which is a really nice touch. Gameplay is a lot like Battlefield 2, but with the nice inclusion of hover tanks and mechs, which, from what I've heard, the hover tanks came back in 2042, but I haven't played that one yet, and I don't think I ever will. 2142, being set in 2142, naturally has some interesting lore, though sadly, because it lacks a single-player campaign, the lore isn't the main focus, but basically, the world is super fucked. It's freezing over, and resources are running out. The last surviving governments are the European Union, the Pan-Asian Coalition, or PAC, and the Union of African States. Everyone else is dead, I guess. The EU and PAC are fighting for the last remaining resources and non-frozen land, using their high-tech weapons and stuff. It's honestly kind of fun, and surprisingly pretty immersive. Now, since there's only 5 maps in vanilla 2142 that you can play, I'm going to talk about each and every one of them.
Belgrade.
Set in Serbia, this is probably my favorite map. It's the one I think of when I think of 2142. It's just a massive frozen urban city that lets you play with the mechs and other vehicles. There's rain that's falling on the map, and it's kind of foggy. The map, despite being set in a heavy urban city, is fairly open with lots of places to go and fight in. It feels symmetric and asymmetric at the same time. It's hard to explain. Everything about this map just feels like something you'd play late Friday night with your friends while rain is pounding down your window. I love this map, and I really think it's the perfect map for 2142. I give this one an easy 10 out of 10.
Благодарю. Точка захвачена. Врага. Замечены силы противника. Нужно подкрепление, срочно! Вижу пехоту противника. Огонь же!
Cerberi Landing.
Set in France, this is a conquest assault map where the PAC is attacking the EU. It's an interesting map, being a literal uphill battle where the PAC has to capture command posts up a steep slope. I like the feel and look of the map, with these older looking buildings mixed with these sci-fi cars and technology. It's not a very balanced map in my opinion, especially with the EU team having a huge sniping advantage, but that could just be because I've only played this map with bots, but I don't know, I can't imagine this map is much more balanced. I like the look of this map more than the flow of it. It's super linear, but fighting uphill does give it some points, I think, but I can't deny that actually playing it feels unbalanced. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Most of those points go to the look of the map, which I think looks really cool.
Imp strike support.
Fall of Berlin.
This map is set in Berlin, and it's not very good. I'm not a huge fan of this one. It's basically a straight line where you fight through this futuristic city. Granted, this is 100% because I'm playing with only 16 bots, but I'm just not a fan of this one. The city isn't very interesting to look at, and since it's an assault map, it feels very linear. There's not a lot of open areas to fight in, and the few areas there are just feel video gamey. It's hard to explain, they just feel manufactured. Sudbury Landing is also super linear, but it at least had the element of fighting uphill going for it. Not a big fan of Fall Berlin personally, but I'll give it a 5 out of 10. If there was something I do like about it, I like how heavy the snow is.
Выступаем. Понял. Мы одерживаем верх. Молодцы. Точка под контролем. Замечены силы противника.
Suez Canal.
Set in Egypt, this is actually a really fun map. You can fly around in the game's aircraft, and while the map is arguably more linear than the previous map, I think this one is just more visually appealing. Since we're in Africa, it's interesting seeing the browns and grays of a desert environment, and there are some fun encounters to be had here. Yeah, it's linear, but it's incredibly open, it's expansive, it lets you use the tools of the game in a fun way. An added bonus is, it's the only map set in Africa that's playable by default offline or in local co-op servers. So that's, I think, an extra point. It's far from my favorite, but I heard this map is great in the Titan mode. So this one gets a 7 out of 10 for me.
Outpost secured. Enemy infantry. I need a medic. I need a medic. I need a medic.
The final map is Verdun, once again set in France. While this is another assault map, I actually really like how open and expansive this one is, with it being in a French farming community that's during a small snowstorm. Air support is on this map as well, but I just like the snow effects. It's beautiful. It's a really fun map. I enjoyed this one a lot while playing it. Lore-wise, it's also a pretty interesting one where the EU is super outnumbered but have to pull off a crazy last stand. The large open areas make the map feel dangerous, like you could get shot from anywhere, but there's also enough for you to take some guys and flank the enemy if you wanted. This is just a great map. 8 out of 10 for me.
Enemy air transport spotted. Enemy Enemy walker in sight. We regained the air. Well done. Medic! Repairs needed here.
On its own, I think these 5 maps, if you're only looking to just play the game for a little bit, are serviceable enough. They're fun, they're unique, and they are different enough from Battlefield 2 that it feels more like Battlefield 2, but different enough to not be Battlefield 2. Which I know might have just made some people upset. That's not what I'm trying to say, but if these 5 maps aren't enough for you, there are plenty of mods that add in more maps. I like the mods. I'll leave a link in the description to the mod that you're seeing in the background, but I just don't like how different this mod feels from the core game. It feels more like, I guess, a modern shooter that released in the 2010s, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of how different this mod feels compared to the vanilla game. That's kind of my issue with mods. They tend to feel a lot different from the vanilla game. Sometimes that's good, but in this case, while I think this is good, I like the feel of the vanilla game a little too much to want to invest a ton of time into this mod, but I digress. On its own, 2142 is a great game. If you have a vanilla copy of this game, you could probably just install a no CD crack or something, install it on several other computers, and get some friends together and have a LAN party. And a great game is made greater by the Titan mode, which I really do want to try one day. It's basically a lot like what Star Wars Battlefront 3 was supposed to be. You and your forces spawn on a Titan and assault specific land positions to capture weapons to destroy the shield of your enemy's Titan. Then you fly your assault craft to land on their Titan and destroy it. It sounds super fun to play. The Titans can move around at the orders of the team's commander. There's all sorts of aerial craft flying around blowing each other up. You can stay on the Titan and use the Titan's machine guns to rain hell on the land infantry, or you can just stay on the ship to defend it from possible attacks. It seems like a super dynamic and super unique mode that I don't think has ever reappeared in any other Battlefield game in any other way. Additionally, if you're interested in tracking down the DLC pack for the game also added in a new mode called Assault Lines. It seems okay, it's similar to Conquest Assault, but once you capture all the command posts, then you capture the enemy's home base, if you're attacking, that is. It seems okay. I think it's been in other Battlefields before, but I haven't been able to play it personally. I don't even think I have the DLC installed. 2142 is probably the most unique and interesting Battlefield ever released. It's a genuinely great game that you have to go out of your way to get working. Not that it doesn't work by default on modern Windows with a simple install. I'm talking about having to install and download a lot of fan patches, accounts, etc. to play the game either online or offline. It sucks it's designed this way because I think this might be one of the best Battlefields ever made, but you really do have to go out of your way to get it working, which I'm too lazy to do, at least for the online portion, so I can't play online with other people yet. I can't really recommend this over Battlefield 2 and vice versa. I think you should have both since they're effectively the same with just a different coat of paint, but I do recommend going out of your way to play this one.
Точка потеряна. Противник одерживает верх. Здесь робот.
This grenade will release an EMP charge on impact, slowing or disabling vehicles in the area.
Замечены силы противника. Мы одерживаем верх. Молодцы.